Hey everyone, Cutroneo here. Welcome back to my video progress series on the Dyens Saudade No. 3. This is video 6. As I mentioned in my previous video, the primary focus of this practice session was to just refine and solidify what I had learned over the past week. So in the first performance, there were little things here and there that needed work. Obviously, the second page of the second movement was something that needed to be addressed. And then there were some tricky licks, and I included a section that I practiced. So the second lick that I had been working on, this one, that one, which I didn't nail there, but that lick, I worked on it for about 5 minutes, and then I decided to record a video on it because while I was working on it, I discovered some interesting things that I will be focused on while practicing that section and similar sections. So here's that video right now. Okay, so I've been working on this, the second lick in the first page. And one of the things that I've been focused on that I figured that I would show you guys is the release and the control of the right hand fingers, and just controlling and making the movements smooth. So not to go into too much super detail, but just to explain what I'm doing in the right hand. The right hand pattern is A, M, I in succession, and the A finger will pluck a note and have a slur, so it'll be A slur M I, A slur M I, A slur M I, A slur M I, P I, A and M I, and that. Usually where I trip up in this section is towards the end, right here. Actually I hit the thumb again, so it's not, but it's, so usually where I trip up is the adjustment of the arm. And so something that I found today that I've been working on is that as I'm practicing, you can see that my arm is out of place because I've pulled everything back a string. So I need to come down and be able to make that change. So the way that I'm doing this is that I've got a metronome set to 100 and I'm doing 2 notes per click slows. So you see that the accuracy of bringing the hand back down is not quite there. So I'll go through it slowly and really focus on the thumb moving. Here. So now you can see I'm prepared right here and my hand is now in place. And that's just a weird figure. So I need to release all of that together. So let's try it again. So you see how I moved? So I'll do that again. Do it again. See that small move for that. So now let's try it fast. That's all right. Let's try it again. That kind of worked. And I'm missing that. Let's try it again slow. Again. That was pretty good. Let's try that again. Not bad. Feels still a little herky-jerky. So there I didn't move at all. So what I'm looking for is I'm trying to do that 3 times in a row with a movement to reinforce that. All right, let's do it again. That was the smoothest. Let's see if we go for number 3. Working. Let's try it now at its tempo. Not bad. Let's see if I can do it again. Oh, other than messing up the chord, right hand looked to seem to be pretty free. Not bad. I'm going to bump this up to 144, which is the performance speed of it. Let's see what happens. That wasn't bad. Let's try it again. There was obviously a false start in it. One more time. There we go with the slowdown that I want. So there are other things that I'm noticing. I don't want to go on too long for this because I already had practiced it for about 5 minutes, sort of really exploring that motion. But other things that I'm also working on is the sequencing of the fingers. So I'm really making sure, if you watch, I'm using, sympathetic motion. And then I release these two fingers. And what I've been noticing is that middle finger, that's not releasing the way that I want it to. That feels pretty tight. So again, slowly. See how it wants to curl in and be like this, this is actually tension right here. I can feel that be tight rather than relaxed. So I'm working that out. That feels pretty good. So you see how out of control that was. Where am I? So again, there. So I'll practice it. And pausing here and just working on keeping my hand relaxed. Oops. And now I'm here. So you can see that that's curled in this way rather than being released. So that's another thing that I'm working on. I don't have time to work out on all of that. I actually work on that both in the first one. That one, as well as the second one, because it's the same right hand fingering. So that's something that I noticed is a little funky, and I've been working that out. The licks still work pretty well, but those are things that I'm focused on just to continue to refine the technique of it. So I just wanted to share that with you. That little piece of practice, I thought was an interesting thing that I had decided to work on. So just so that you know, even though you were getting a camera angle of my hand in that video, I was using a mirror that was in front of me to help me visualize, although the angle of the camera also allowed me to see the fingers as well. Some other things is just, as I've been working on and as I've been talking about the triplet section, that part, now the fingering is starting to get a little funky. So definitely... So the fingering in that section is definitely getting a little funky now. So I'm going to be making sure that I spend time just clarifying that fingering and doing repetitions to get it going. Another thing that I worked on, and I thought I was going to do a video on this, but I decided not to just for the sake of time, is that I really worked on getting the drop of my left side of my body, really allowing the back to go down, and just do this to get there. And so getting that chord to come out as cleanly as I want it to is still a little bit of a struggle. And so I would practice doing this. Let's see. Just using stop practice. And making sure that that's coming out. So I think that needs a little bit more refinement, probably a handful of just repetitions on that. That will probably go into an excerpt practice cycle as well, because that seems to incorporate some technical things that I can just sort of address. Other things that I had worked on were within the dance. I spent a primary amount of my time working on singing the letter names of the second half. So in the first performance, you'll see that the B section, this part, other than the buzzes, that was coming out really well in the performance, so I didn't need to reinforce letter names at all on that. The few times of practicing, the few days focusing on that really started to solidify, which is really nice. So I went in and I did letter names, starting with actually the end of the piece with the muted section, A, C, B, A, E, D, C, A, C, G, G, and doing that, singing letter names and just working on that. There was one rhythm in particular that was fairly tricky, this one. That was just a little tricky to coordinate when the bass and the melody notes were coming in, so I have that even circled in my music that I know that I need to focus on that. I think the first time it didn't work, and then the second time it did in the first performance. And I think in the actual performance, I may have messed it up once as well. My memory is failing me a little bit in that. But that was pretty quick to come together and to coalesce. I spent about 10 minutes or so working on that. Then I spent the rest of my time working on the hammer-ons from nowhere section in this part. The letter names actually really cleared that up for me a lot. There's still a little bit of confusion every once in a while with some of the coordination, but the letter names seem to really be helping solidify everything that's going on there. So the counting helped, letter names are helping. Along with that, for later on practices, I'll probably focus on really trying to get the balance, making sure the fingers aren't overpowering. That whole thing. And I'll need to go really slow. Which is really weird because it's like a light touch in one hand and a strong precision touch in the next hand. I liken that to working on balance in the right hand where you're trying to bring out a certain note. Where, let's say I'm playing, a good example would be how I may practice Villalobos Etude 1, where I'm going to bring out every I finger. Oh, this is in a different tuning, isn't it? So I would do something like this. And I would do that. So that, that takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration to make that happen. But now I'm doing it with two different hands. So that's going to take a little bit of time to separate the energies of those two hands as I'm playing. Overall, I thought the performance was, fairly good, and I thought my practice was really, really focused, really, really streamlined for today, and it felt really good to not try and worry about adding new things, but rather just solidify what I already had. So here's the performance of all of my practice. I kind of think that, maybe the first performance, I liked how I played the A section, the first page, a little bit better. So I think part of my focus is going to be just solidifying the musical interpretation of that. That's still a little wishy-washy right now. So that's definitely, and I've been saying that for a while, but, it's been 6 days. It's been 6 days, and there's definitely a little bit of a rush of how fast I'm going to learn this piece. So because of that, some of the musical interpretation choices, some of the focusing on the nuances of phrases just aren't happening to the degree that I would if I had the whole piece learned. Because there is definitely an emphasis, firstly, on being able to play the whole thing from memory. But I'm ending this week having the whole thing memorized, everything that I learned. So I'm really, really pleased about that. So here's that performance, and I'll see you back in a second. So that was the performance of everything that I had learned thus far. I started this piece from nothing, and I started this video series starting on day 2. And I think for 1 week of practice, for 7 days of work, 6 videos, this is a pretty good milestone, a pretty good goal to accomplish. I honestly didn't know how long it was going to take me to learn this whole entire piece, and I'm kind of surprised in a good way that I've gotten all the way halfway through with this piece. I know going on for the second half of this piece, there are going to be some things that are really challenging going through, so I'm not expecting the same rate of learning and the same rate of memorization. However, I'm at the end of May, at the end of June, I want to have the whole thing performable. Obviously not the cleanest performance, but definitely performable. And I think what I'm going to do is at the end of that, the video cycle, I'll do a live stream performance. So let me know if you want to actually see a live stream performance of the piece as it's all finished, as my final video. Let me know in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up if you think that that's a good idea. Other than that, my focus for my 7th video is going to be a little bit different. Typically, my 7th day is a rest day on the piece, and I'm going to continue with that with one small exception. I'm going to work on a singular section of the piece for about 15 minutes tomorrow. And the idea for tomorrow's video is that you're going to see the different video progression of this piece, of that section, from the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, and so on. And what I want to accomplish there is showing what happens improvement-wise as you continue to work on the same thing day after day after day. So I'm going to pick a section to do that and to showcase that for the next video. I might not have 7 days worth of material. I have a few ideas as to what I'm going to use, but it's one of those things that tomorrow I'll make that final decision on that. But I think it's something important because it's a piece of advice that I give all of my students, and I might follow through even into the next video. So when I do, I guess the 14th video, sort of follow up on that by continuing to work on that whatever section for 5 minutes. Again, that'll be solidified for tomorrow. I think that's it. Like I said, I'm pretty pleased with how it's going. If you've been watching the video series since the beginning, thanks. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be releasing a video in this series every day until June 30th. And if you want to be notified of that video release as soon as possible, make sure you not only subscribe, but you hit the bell notification down below to be notified when the videos are released. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscriptions, thumbs up, comments, all greatly appreciated. If there's any question on what I'm doing, how I'm practicing, what I'm working on, feel free to type in the comments below. Like I said, I'll either answer it in a video or I might just answer it directly in the comments. And I think that's about it. So, other than that, I will see everybody in the next video. Have a good one.